welcome to the Digital Women Awards. The 8th edition is here. The most powerful initiative when it comes to women entrepreneurs, whether they're small, medium, or established, all of them are out there to go from idea to scale in a big way and are transforming their lives. They're coming up with concepts that are commercially successful, ideas that are having impact, and all of that. I'm delighted that we have here at She the People had 8 editions, year after year, celebrating women entrepreneurship and how. This time, the focus is Storm the Norm. Spotlight interview is with Lara Dutta, who has gone pretty comfortably from being somebody who has acted in films, done her piece with the Miss India space, Miss Universe space, and then come into entrepreneurship with her brand ARIAS. Great pleasure. Lara Dutta, welcome to the Digital Women Awards and Summit. Straight to the question on transition, Lara. What did it take to get into a transformational role from what seems to be an acting mainstream Bollywood and say, hey, what? I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
So, Shelley, I think growing up as a services kid, the only one thing that I really know, like when they ask you, what is that one thing that you really know about yourself? The only one thing that I really know about myself is to transition. I mean, that's what I've been doing since I was a kid. We were never in one place, right? So you're constantly transitioning. And I think I've kind of grown up with that, with it being my biggest asset, because I've constantly transitioned through a career that spanned 27 years, from the film, from the fashion world to the world of beauty pageants, to the world of films, and now to the world of entrepreneurship. And I've always been one of those people who kind of bites off more than she can chew and genuinely believes that she could swallow it too. So entrepreneurship came to me, I would say not too late in life, but about 5 years ago when we started off with brand ARIAS. And ARIAS went from skincare and fragrances to ARIAS Home, which we launched earlier this year in January, and now to ARIAS Kids in collaboration with First Cry.
So, would you say this was a natural progression for you to go from artist into the world of business?
I think being a businesswoman came to me quite young in life, quite early. Out of the three sisters, I was the only one who always had money in her wallet, whether it was because I was squirreling it away to save it, or the fact that I would stitch doll dresses out of scraps of fabric and sell them to my friends as outfits for their dolls. But I think somewhere inside me, I've always wanted to be a businesswoman, and I just, I needed to wait for the right time where I had enough time to really invest, into it at the level at which I wanted to do. So I didn't want to come on board and just be the face of something. I really wanted to be involved in all aspects of it, from development to creation to marketing to the works. And I think having Mahesh as a husband and as a sports player, he always also has a pretty brilliant business mind. I think having him by my side to help me realize that, has been a huge asset. So yeah, I mean, it's been a fantastic journey. I've had to learn from the ground up, and I think, having been a producer as a woman in the film industry a few years prior to that, it gave me good grounding of how a woman is normally treated, in a man's world.
Oh, you said armed forces. I too have an armed forces background, but I'm trying to think where in the armed forces does one get the push to turn to business and say, you know what, I'm going to experiment that.
So I think for me, the whole idea firstly stems from the fact that I'm largely a creative person, and so therefore I love just creating things. It doesn't matter whether it's films or it's a product or it's an idea or a concept, and well, monetizing it was always a priority for me, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't, it was just an idea that wasn't benefiting you in any which way, or at least benefiting somebody in some way, then it was a useless idea. So even when I started off with skincare, like I said, I've been in the industry for so long that I've had access to some of the best skincare products and experts in business around the world. But I never ever found one concrete skincare brand that addressed the needs of Indian skin from end to end. I mean, we had some of the best international brands on offer, and They would cost an arm and a leg for us to go out and buy them, but they were made for Caucasian skin and Far Eastern skin. But there was nothing there that really addressed the way Indian skin aged. And this was fascinating for me. This was an area that hadn't been addressed. Nothing existed apart from Ayurvedic or naturopathy, sort of products. And I really wanted to be able to develop, a product that wouldn't break the bank, was great quality, would give you the results that you needed to see, especially in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, and was homegrown. And 2 years of R&D later, we sort of brought out ARIAS skincare. Before that, when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I've been a yoga practitioner since my early 20s, I couldn't find anything on the market that really dealt with prenatal yoga. Yes, there were DVDs available, but they were all, Canadian women and French women and Filipino women, who were doing prenatal yoga. But there was nothing that, again, was homegrown for an Indian woman doing in her all trimesters of her pregnancy, being able to do yoga. And I created, I think, one of the first prenatal yoga videos, for women, and I did it when I was 8.5 months pregnant, just to show that you could actually do it far into your pregnancy and it was still safe for you. But yeah, so that's just me. It's just I need to create things constantly.
You said creation. I love that word. There is something so powerful about the term creation. But tell me, when you looked around, who gave you that? When you looked around, who gave you that little fillip to say, listen, go ahead and try this out? Where did the inspiration come from? Was it at home? Did you have some people around you who had taken the plunge or done this sort of a switch? Because career switches in our world are not taken very well, right? You're always judged for it. You were much better as an actor. Will you be a good business person, etc.?
I think we're fortunate enough where for the industry that we belong to as actors, there's a certain income that we have access to, and invariably in Bollywood, the favorite investment for the longest time used to be in real estate, and 90% of the times, especially for the women in the industry, their finances are mostly handled by their families, by the father, or by the secretary. And very rarely are women really are making financial decisions about what to do with their money. And for me, I've been curious about money from a very, very young age. I like to know where it comes from. I like to know where it goes. I like to know how it multiplies. And I think these were things for me that it was sheer curiosity, to know and to understand money. That really actually, even till today, I mean, I started making investments for myself literally in my late teens. And I said to my dad, I said, no, if I lose the money, I want to be able to do it on my own terms. I want to know what goes into it. Um, and I can't tell you. And today, that's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give my nieces. Today, they are all, in their early 20s and in their late teens. And I'm constantly telling them, this, you need to plan, you need to have financial understanding. You need to start planning what you want to do with your money. So for me as an entrepreneur, it would have been very easy for me to take money that I was earning and invest it into brands that already existed or into startups, and either take sweat equity or buy into some amount of equity in them. But then there's no skin in the game. And with what I've tried to create with Brand Arias, I mean, I'm all in. I'm invested into it in every which way, not just financially, but 100% of myself goes into it. So for me, the success of this brand is a do or die, and I have a vision for it. I want to take the brand into being at least a 50 crore company within the next 3 to 5 years. I want Arise to be a household name. I want the products to be in every single household in India, whether it is through kids wear, whether it is through the home range, whether it's through skin and skin products, or other verticals that are already being developed. But I can promise you that I will do that. I will make Arise a household name.
Money goals. That term is phenomenal, and I'm glad that you use that. How much of your creative process is focused on making this equally important as an ambition for yourself?
I think it's very deep rooted in us. We were constantly told, don't worry. Your job is managing the house. This is the amount of money that you're going to be given. So if you really think about it, we've been excellent money managers all our lives. For most women, I've seen it with my grandmother, with my mother. The father brought home an X amount of salary, and you learned how to make that salary, you know, really last, stretch it out to the last dollar. And the women of the house used to do that. But yet, when it comes to decision making on whether life insurance policies should be taken, health insurance should be taken, where the investment should go, it's always been don't worry your pretty little head about it. And that just never sat well with me. I was always somebody who said, and I can tell you that today, and my husband will agree with me, that I make better financial decisions than he does. And it's only from you have to take that leap of faith and you have to be open to wanting to learn. And it's such a fascinating industry to really know about and to see how money really moves and works. And I love it. And I'm constantly learning. I love having these meetings, with the financial advisors. I pick their brains, but I want to know everything that's happening. When cryptocurrency came out, I needed to understand it, very, very carefully. Um, which post understanding it, for me, I realized that I actually liked blockchain more than I did cryptocurrency. But again, there are very few women that I can have these conversations with because most of them have no clue what the hell I'm talking about.
Because it does have a very important role that it plays, right? We don't normalize this conversation about money and finances. I mean, look at the guys. They'll talk about bonuses. They'll find the water cooler and get around a conversation about money. Women are like, I'm not conditioned to talk about this. Hey, money, what's that? It comes later. It's always something that comes later. Is that part of the problem?
No, that's true, and I also think, women sort of feel. I have some wonderful female friends who are in some amazing positions in their companies, in their fields, and yet they're so closed about, how much they earn, or like you rightly said, what their bonuses are going to be. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. It literally is that, yeah, it's there, but I'm uncomfortable talking about it, which I don't understand why. Because at the end of the day, when you normalize these conversations, exactly like what you said, then they become conversations that are empowering. They become conversations that also enable other women to understand that this is something that I can do. This is something that I should be worthy of, and it's gone beyond just saying that, oh, I want to be a woman and I want to be financially independent. I mean, today I'm not teaching my daughter. That goes without saying that, mom goes to work. I love what I do. I do it because at the end of the day, I earn a living and, it pays the bills and all of that. So it's gone beyond being just, oh, I want to be a woman and I want to be financially independent. It is, I'm financially independent and I love the fact that I can make money from my money. And I think Saira's got that packed down, and she's only 10 years old. She already knows that.
Would you say, Lara, that today the film industry is finally seeing the importance of its constituents, actors, having more than just the talent to act? I mean, of course, we've had producer, directors, etc. But now everyone's going much more beyond. I mean, there are brands like the one you've launched. There are brands that others are launching, whether they are connected to the industry or not. They could just be sort of investments. They could also be perhaps setting up a business or manufacturing or rental homes. I mean, they're all kinds. Is this getting a comfort zone, or perhaps the need of the hour?
And I think it's fantastic. I mean, you've got wonderful actors who are at the top of their game today. Alia, Katrina, who have their own companies, have their own businesses, who are making really smart investments. I think they were one of the two actors who were invested into Nika before its public, IPO went live, and made a ton of money from it, and was smart enough also to get out when they did. And that can only happen if you know money markets and you've got the right kind of advisors on either side of you. But it's not just about having it; it's also having the gut instinct to know, you know, when to stay and when to leave. And yeah, I think it's definitely a trend that's here to stay, and I see that growing very steadily over the next couple of years with the new generation as well that's coming up.
What is the one lesson entrepreneurship has taught Lara Dutta, which she didn't have before?
Uh, there's very little that I didn't know earlier. Um, but I think what it's definitely taught me and is constantly teaching me is that what you there's a certain kind of sensibility that I have, um, and when I'm creating a product, it's an extension of myself. So in a way, I'm kind of preempting what it is that the buyer is going to want to buy, or what would they would like. And I think I'm constantly surprised, and which is why I follow when we put out some SKUs over the first 6 months. I'm very, very closely following to see what really moves and what doesn't. And more often than not, that really surprises me. And and I'm constantly learning from that, because and every single time that I think, okay, now I've learned and now I've hit it on the head. Trends change, the buyers, the influences that the buyer has changes, and so it's an incredible business. You've got to stay on top of it constantly all the time.
So, Lara, we're talking at the Digital Women Awards and Summit. You're the entrepreneur in spotlight during this interview. Tell me, what does it take inside us to start up all again and go the whole hog?
No, it definitely does. And it's also, it's a huge learning. I mean, for me, literally, like I said, it was learning from the ground up. It was learning every single day, and it was learning the hard way. But I genuinely believe that if you put your mind to it, I honestly believe age is just a number. I mean, I was having a conversation with somebody today. My sister is a life coach, and one of the clients that she's coaching is a 77-year-old woman who said, by her estimate, she has another 23 years left to live, but she's got so much that she wants to do in those 23 years that she doesn't know how she's going to get it all in. And this is a woman who's written about 7 or 8 books, and I mean, isn't this has led this incredible life? So I genuinely believe that age is just a number. It really is just a number. And if you're willing to put in the hard work, and it's not like I had, a ton of money just lying there, which I said, okay, one day wake up and I'm going to throw into this business and let's see how it goes. Neither did I have daddy's money sitting, that came to me and said, okay, beta, start something. It doesn't matter. Just keep yourself busy. And I mean, today I have Unilever that's invested into Essentials, which owns ARIAS Skincare along with me. And so I have big names that I'm answerable to, but it's about understanding whether this is something that you really want, and then going after it, hammer and tongs. So I genuinely believe that for women who are considering, different careers from the ones that they've been down the paths on, it's not easy, but it is 100% doable and tangible and achievable. And it's incredible amounts of fun if you commit yourself to it.
You said fun. I swear we take out the fun out of everything. Women really just think that they can't have fun. It's my biggest lament. We just want to take away fun. Why don't we have enough fun along this journey? And why aren't we proud of having fun in this journey?
I know. No, it's not about how can we have fun. I think we're just so hard on ourselves. As women, we're the hardest. I mean, we don't cut ourselves any slack. And I think we put up these ridiculous ideals, where you've constantly got to have it all together. You've got to be that mom who has the kid, who's getting great grades in school and is off drugs, and is has her p's and q's in place and doesn't slam the door on you and say, I hate you, mom. So you're not that mother. You're the wife who has the husband who works 9 to 5 and comes home and loves hanging out with his wife and takes her out, for lunches and dinners every weekend. Where the daughter who is dropping everything to go, look after ailing parents, where the daughter-in-law who's, whatever. And I think we've just put ourselves into these impossible positions. Nobody has really put us into it. We put ourselves into these impossible positions. And so we've got so many balls up there that we're juggling, and we're so terrified to drop one of them, should we be judged for it, that we've literally taken the fun out of everything. And this is one of the lessons that I've learned along the way, that you can't make everyone happy all the time, including yourself. You can't be happy with yourself 100% of the time.
Yeah, I hear what you mean, the self made pressure, and it's there. I mean, it's here to stay. I wish we could all do something overnight, but we can't. But I'll come to my final question, which really is, what have been the most critical personal challenges that you overcame along this journey. And you said, there is no one Lara Dutta. She reinvents herself all the time.
So for me, I think, after winning, I mean, I won Miss Universe when I was 21 years old. I lived in New York for 2 years, never really harbored any dreams of becoming a Bollywood actress per se, sort of came to the industry quite by default. And I think the good thing for me was the fact that I never considered it the be all and end all of my life, that, oh my God, now I'm a Bollywood actress and this is where I'm going to be until death do us apart. Or in those days, it used to be 30 do you apart. But it's had its fair share of challenges. I was mentioning this to somebody else also just now recently, that when I turned producer in 2011, I did my first film, Chalo Dilli, and this very same people that I had spent years with, been in their films, worked with them as an actor, producers, directors, all of them. Um, it was incredible the amount of I wouldn't say animosity, but I would say, just being dismissed by them for being a woman. They were very okay having a creative conversation with me, but were constantly looking over my shoulder to see if I had a man who was then going to take over and have the business, discussions, the business side of things, to talk over that with them. So they found it extremely difficult and were very, very dismissive to sit down with a woman across the table and discuss budgets and distribution and things like that. And I never expected it, to be honest. And so when it did happen to me, it came as a huge shock. And but I found that when I went into the entrepreneurial world, into the business end of things, that was far easier. Men in the entrepreneurial world don't have these issues, with women. And I think that's also mainly because of the women that have come, sort of before me and have made things easier. So today in the industry, you have incredible actresses. You have Anushka, Deepika, Alia, Tapsi, who are all producers. And I'm sure it's not easy for them, but I'm 100% sure that it is easier for them because of us who came before them, and sort of laid down this path. So that's how life is, right? Sometimes you create paths and sometimes you walk the paths that others have been sort of cleared for you.
Lara Datta, such a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us here on Conversations on Entrepreneurship, an avatar of yours that we haven't had before. And I'm delighted to have you here at She the People Digital Women Awards and Summit. Well, there you have it. There's a massive lineup of both virtual and in person conversations here at the Digital Women Awards in its 8th edition. We are back, and how? Stay with us on our social spaces, and for those of you joining us at the event, we'll see you there.